What's up everyone, Darcblade here with the next episode in my Agents of Overwatch series, where I take a look at the heroes in the game, going over their lore, abilities, pros, cons and more. In this episode we are going to look at the cybernetic super ninja, Genji. Genji Shimada is a 35-year-old adventurer that hails from Japan, but this was not always so. As the youngest son of the master of the Shimada clan from Japan, Genji lived a life of luxury and privilege. Despite being from a prestigious family, he had little interest in the family's illegal business. And although he excelled and enjoyed the ninja training provided by his clan, he spent most of his time pursuing a playboy lifestyle. Many within the Shimada clan considered the carefree Genji to be a dangerous liability to their business, and they resented his father for coding and protecting him. Following the untimely death of Genji's father, Genji's older brother, Hanzo, demanded that he took more of an active role in their father's empire. Genji, however, refused, and this enraged Hanzo. The tensions between the two brothers built into a violent confrontation that left Genji on the verge of death. Hanzo believed that he had killed his brother, but Genji was rescued by Overwatch and the intervention of Dr. Angela Ziegler, otherwise known as Mercy. The global security force saw Genji as a potential asset in its ongoing operations to combat the Shimada clan in Japan. As Genji's injuries left him clinging to life, Overwatch offered to rebuild his body in exchange for his help. He was put through an extensive procedure to cybernize his body, which also enhanced his natural speed, agility, and augmented all his ninjutsu training. Transformed into a living weapon, Genji then set to the task of dismantling his family's criminal empire. However, as time passed, Genji felt increasingly at war with himself. He was repulsed by the mechanical parts of his body and could not come to grips with what he had become. When his mission was over, he abandoned Overwatch and wandered the world in search of meaning. He drifted from place to place over the course of many years before crossing paths with the Omnic monk Zenyatta. Though Genji initially rejected Zenyatta's wisdom, the wise Omnic would not be deterred. In time, Zenyatta became his mentor, and under the monk's tutelage, Genji reconciled his dual existence as both man and machine. He learned to accept that although he had a cyborg body, his human soul was intact, and he came to see his new form as a gift and unique strength. Now, for the first time in his life, Genji was free, and for now he does not know where his path may ultimately lead him. Genji later reconciles with Hanzo briefly in the animated short Dragons. Now moving on to look at the weapons and abilities Genji wields. Genji is a 3-star difficulty offense hero. He has 200 health, is a fast mover and fairly slim target, making him difficult to hit at times. Genji's primary weapon are his shurikens. Holding 3 at a time, these linear projectiles can be used in one of two ways. The primary fire allows Genji to throw the 3 shurikens in a straight line, one after another in quick succession. Each shuriken will deal 28 damage, so times that by 3 if you can hit with all 3 shurikens. This can be a lot of damage, especially if you can land headshots. Genji throws all 3 shurikens in the space of 1 second, so it can be seen as 3 shurikens a second as a rate of fire. As these are fairly slow moving projectiles, when faced with fast moving targets, it's best to aim at where the target is going to be and not where they are. Or normally it's best to just use the secondary fire. Genji has a secondary use for the shurikens known as fan of blades. Instead of throwing the shurikens one after another in quick succession in a straight line, Genji instead will throw all 3 shurikens at the same time in about a 45-degree arc in front of him. This can allow Genji to deal a lot of burst damage to those who are right in front of him, as all 3 shurikens can potentially hit the target in a single throw. The speed at which Genji throws the fan of blades is 1.33 seconds. Also, the middle shuriken will always land directly where you are aiming, with the left and right shuriken fanning out the further your target is away. Although Genji's shurikens, both the primary fire and secondary fire, are a decent source of damage, they work well in tandem with all of Genji's other abilities. Now moving on to the first ability Genji has at his disposal. It's called Deflect. With this ability, Genji will use his Wakizashi, which is his short blade, to take up a defensive stance. In this stance, Genji has the ability to deflect almost all incoming damage that is directly in front of him. When activated, Genji will not be able to perform any other attack for 2 seconds. This is also the duration in which he can deflect attacks. Deflect is able to return the damage of projectiles to where Genji is aiming, so where your crosshairs are. This applies to projectile and hit scan weapons. Deflect will block melee attacks too, but not return the damage to the target. The only attacks and weapons Deflect will not work against are beam type weapons. These include Winston, Mei, Symmetra and Zarya's primary weapon attacks. It also won't deflect Lucio's secondary fire. Deflect can be a very powerful tool, as it can also deflect enemy ultimate abilities. The ultimates it can deflect are projectile or hit scan based ultimates such as Hanzo's, McCree's, Mei's, Tracer's, Zarya's, Reaper's, Pharah's and Bastion's. However, it won't have any effect against large explosive ults like Diva's ult and Junkrat's Riptire. Deflect can only return damage directly in front of Genji, so an enemy hero can easily hit Genji in the back even if he's deflecting, with no fear of having damage returned to them. You will be able to tell when an enemy or ally Genji has used Deflect thanks to the flashing blades in front of him. With that in mind, when fighting a Genji, it's sometimes better to bait out the Deflect before proceeding with any major attacks or abilities. Deflect cannot be spammed either, as it comes with an 8-second cooldown. Deflect can only be interrupted by Genji's ultimate or his second ability, Swift Strike. Genji has one achievement and trophy linked to Deflect. It's called Their Own Worst Enemy, and it requires players to get 2 kills with 1 use of Deflect in quick or competitive play. This does require a certain amount of luck, but also skill, and it's best achieved against high DPS heroes that use explosive weaponry. It also helps if you happen to come across enemies clumped up in a tight space together. Genji's second ability is Swift Strike. This ability allows Genji to swiftly dash forward with his wakizashi and inflict damage on any enemy it passes through. It will deal 50 damage to each foe it touches. The range in which Genji will dash is 14 meters and will be in a direct line you are aiming. With that in mind, Swift Strike can be used to attack airborne foes, or to even traverse to high platforms. Swift Strike does come with an 8-second cooldown, but if you should be able to land an elimination with any other ability, then it will instantly have its cooldown reset. Well worth thinking about when taking on foes. Swift Strike can also be used as a survivability tool, allowing you to quickly escape if needed. Swift Strike is normally a key role in various combos and ability rotations Genji has at his disposal. Such combos include primary Shuriken, Swift Strike, the melee attack. Or, if you are closer, Fanner Blades, Swift Strike, 180 degree turn, and then Shurikens. These are just some examples, as there are many combos you can use depending on the situation of the battle and how many foes are around you. Genji has a passive ability known as Cyber Agility. With this, Genji can wall climb up vertical walls and double jump. This gives Genji great 3-dimensional maneuverability. This also allows Genji to get into positions that enemies may not expect him to be. It really gives him great flanking options. It also serves as one of Genji's greatest survivability tools. Staying mobile and double jumping while in fights will make Genji difficult to hit, which can allow him to continue his assault on his foes or escape and regroup if needed. To wall climb, you simply hold the jump button while against a wall, or in the options you can change it so you automatically climb a wall whilst just jumping into it. One tip with Cyber Agility is that if you want to reach high places, you can jump, wall climb and then jump one more time to reach high vantage points. Genji's ultimate ability is the powerful Dragonblade. Once ready and activated, Genji will draw on the power of the dragon, drawing the katana on his back. This comes with a short animation during which he cannot attack, but after which all his attacks will now be powerful melee cleaves, damaging anyone in front of him up to 5 meters away. Genji's ultimate does 120 damage per swing, so it's best generally used against weaker targets than going for tanks, unless they've already taken damage. The ultimate lasts up to 6 seconds, during which Genji can get about 7 swings before the ultimate is used up. Using your primary fire will make Genji swing his sword, but he can also take advantage of all of his abilities whilst the ultimate is active. Swift Strike even benefits from the ultimate, as its cooldown is instantly reset from just getting a kill from the swing of your sword. Keep this in mind when using Genji's ultimate for fast kills. You can also still deflect during the ultimate's use. You will be able to tell when an enemy or yourself has used the ultimate by Genji saying, He will also say,
"The dragon become me!"
if an ally Genji has used their ultimate. Genji's ultimate can be devastating as he can achieve multiple eliminations without the enemy team having to be grouped up. When faced with an ulting enemy Genji, it is best not to group up unless you have sufficient means to counter him with stun abilities or ultimates of your own, like Zenyatta's. Genji has one trophy and achievement linked to Darcblade. It's called Sliced and Diced and requires players to achieve 4 eliminations in a single use of Darcblade. This again requires a combination of luck and skill. It was also a lot easier to achieve before the nerf to Genji, when Darcblade lasted 8 seconds instead of 6. If you're having trouble with this achievement, maybe try combining it with Zarya's Graviton Surge. Whilst every hero can take on every other hero in the game, there are some matchups that can be clearly in a certain hero's favour. Genji has an easier time taking out support heroes or already wounded opponents. These include support heroes such as Mercy, Zenyatta, Ana, or even Lucio. Also, thanks to Genji's Deflect, he excels at dealing with high damage DPS targets such as Bastion. Genji, if he's in the hands of a decent player, can be difficult to take down. However, he can be countered using heroes who use beam weapons or have the ability to restrict or keep up with his mobility. These include heroes such as Winston, Mei, Zarya, and even Symmetra to some extent. He can also be countered if faced with a skilled McCree, as the flashbang can be thrown at the ground or walls to avoid being deflected back at him and thus stunning Genji for an easy kill. Of course, player's skill should always be taken into account. Just because a hero should easily be better than another hero on paper doesn't mean that will always be the case during a match. The pros for Genji are as follows. Firstly, he has high burst damage. Next, he has high mobility. Next, his deflect ability can be very powerful. And finally, he also has a very powerful ultimate ability. However, he does have cons. Firstly and most importantly, he has a high skill cap to master. And he also is very fragile. Genji's design was originally part of Hanzo, but Blizzard decided to split the character into the Shimada brothers we have now. Genji's design, being that of a cybernetic ninja, can be found in many other forms of media, from animes, manga to other video games. Genji could be considered stereotypical in terms of looks. Genji's design also clearly has been influenced by Japanese culture, from samurais to the ninjas of feudal Japan. All of his weapons are futuristic designs of weapons found in Japanese history. Taking influence from Japanese and Buddhist monk culture, Genji also has a peaceful nature to him. Thanks to his backstory and the influences of Mercy and Zenyatta, Genji's mannerisms and personality are inspiring at times, with his mind seemingly being at peace at what he has become. Overall, Genji is a high mobility, high burst damage flanker and eliminator. He excels at getting into positions where the enemy team would not expect him to attack from. This can work to a team's advantage if communication is being used, as Genji can scout out enemy positions and provide information on the enemy team. When in the right position, Genji can harass and eliminate enemy backlines if left unchecked. He also has the speed in which to rush in and eliminate wounded targets before rushing back out to safety. Genji does have a fairly low health pool, so hit and run style tactics really work in his favour thanks to the burst damage he can deal. When deflecting attacks, you have the ability to aim the attack back at the target who fired them, or if you have the option, then you can aim those attacks back at one of their more vulnerable teammates instead. For example, if an enemy McCree is using his High Noon ultimate and there is an enemy Mercy standing next to him, instead of deflecting the High Noon back at McCree, instead aim at Mercy. However, this is easier said than done. Swift Strike also has many uses, not just as an offensive tool, but also as a defensive one, or even traversal tool. Genji's abilities all synergize well with one another, which can lead to various rotations and combos. You need to always keep an eye on your ability cooldowns to get the most out of them too. Genji is at his best when he coordinates with his team, attacking the foes from the flanks or rear while your team is drawing the enemy's attention. As Genji, you should never really attack a foe head on unless they are incapable of dealing with you, you have the support of your teammates, or you can use deflect effectively. If you get tunnel vision while playing as Genji, or you are left on your own, then you will waste the offensive capabilities that this super ninja can offer a team. So it is normally best to regroup if you find yourself alone and outnumbered. Genji is a hero that has the stigma of being overused, and while in the hands of some players he can be a mild annoyance, in the hands of an expert he can be a game changer. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my Agents of Overwatch guide to Genji. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.
Play of the game. Fire at will!